grand lobby of the Magnolia Crest Hotel, a place where polished shoes clicked over marble and soft classical music, drifted between gold-inlaid screens, felt suddenly as if someone had thrown a grenade of panic into the middle of it. In the center of all that luxury, a man's voice, deep, sharp, and not in English, cut through the air. "Please, you must find it. It's extremely important. I need it now." The words, Japanese, repeated over and over, came for the 10th time in 3 minutes. He was about 50, dressed in a tailored black suit with collars pressed to a perfect line. Steel behind rimless glasses, but all that poise drowned beneath his anger as he paced in front of the reception desk, pointing to his suitcase, to a stack of papers, then toward the staircase, his voice rising, the syllables tumbling faster, until the American staff froze. What's he saying? Lost something maybe. But what? Papers? Money? Keys? The receptionist stammered. The manager, his face red from strain, bowed slightly, over and over. We are very sorry. Please wait just a moment. Wait. The man switched to English, his Japanese accent cutting the air. Wait a second. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us. I need it now. Do you understand? Important. Nods. All around. But empty. Unsure nods. Guests in the lobby slowed their steps to watch. Some leaned in with curiosity. Others frowned. A few raised their phones to take pictures. And then, from the far end of the lobby, a woman in a faded blue janitorial uniform walked forward. She still held her mop. The rubber gloves at her wrists were frayed. Sweat clung to her brow, but her eyes, dark and watchful, were calm. Nia Wallace, 25, small frame. Eyes like they could store details for years. Invisible to most. But for the last 5 minutes she had heard every word. She stepped to the manager and spoke quietly. "He's looking for a very important document. I think it's a contract agreement. He says it went missing after he handed it to the receptionist while he stepped away to the restroom." The manager turned sharply, as if she'd just claimed to see through walls. "What did you say?" "I understand what he's saying." A receptionist laughed under her breath. "Right. A dirty black janitor who just happens to speak Japanese." Another chimed in, more openly mocking. "Sure, and I guess I speak French because I read the menu at a cafe." Nia didn't respond. A tall woman emerged from behind the Japanese man, hair in a tight blonde bun, pearl gray suit, heels that tapped like punctuation on the marble. Marissa Hale, assistant to Shohei Takahashi, the Japanese billionaire now standing stone-faced in frustration. His trusted voice in the United States. Marissa's words came crisp, cold. "Step aside. We're dealing with something important." "I think I can." "No, you can't." Marissa's tone snapped like glass. Her eyes swept over Nia as though she were part of the dirt on the floor. "Don't insert yourself into things that don't concern you." But then Marissa turned back to Takahashi, launching into a halting blend of English and clumsy Japanese. "You need document. Important, maybe lost." His brow tightened. This time, he didn't answer. His gaze dropped to the marble floor, lips pressed thin, a tremor in his hand. Nia stepped forward. She set the mop aside, moved in front of the desk, and bowed, low, deep, in the traditional Japanese way. Her voice, when it came, was warm, measured, each Japanese syllable clear and precise. "Honored, sir. If you could please describe the document in detail. I and the staff will do our best to help you locate it." The lobby froze. Marissa's eyes went wide. The receptionist stared, mouths slightly open. And Shohei Takahashi, who had worked with dozens of top-tier interpreters, studied the small black woman before him as though she'd just overturned the laws of the room. "You speak Japanese?" he asked, in Japanese. Nia didn't answer. Her gaze remained lowered, respectful. And in that moment, the air in the Magnolia Crest shifted into something neither hostile nor calm. Something else entirely. Nia Wallace couldn't remember the last time anyone had bowed to thank her. By mid-morning, the chaos in the Magnolia Crest lobby was over. Shuhei Takahashi's missing document had been found, tucked into a reception desk drawer by a night shift janitor who'd mistaken it for scrap paper. What had started as a scene teetering on disaster ended in a few hours, but the aftermath was only beginning. Nya no longer pushed a mop. She was given a plain black suit, a badge engraved interpreter, Japanese English, and a chair beside Takahashi's assistant during meetings. The white front desk staff whispered. The hotel manager scratched his head, and Marissa Hale, Takahashi's official aide, smiled without warmth, her eyes colder than the ice cubes in a crystal glass. From mop girl to personal interpreter in a day. Impressive, someone muttered as Naya passed. She heard. She didn't answer, because Naya had long stopped being surprised at how people measured her by skin, by job, by where she came from. She'd been trained in that reality since childhood. She'd grown up in a small neighborhood on Detroit's outskirts. Never knew her father. On her birth certificate, the father line was blank. Her mother, Lena Wallace, a thin, tireless black nurse, worked double shifts tending to patients, raising her daughter, paying rent, buying fever medicine for herself. They lived in a ground-floor apartment, with peeling window frames and a radiator that clicked all winter. But the hardest part wasn't the apartment. Hey, the black girl's got peanut butter sandwiches again. Do you even have a dad? Or did your mom just steal someone's baby juice? Those voices followed Naya through school. Not from adults, but from other kids who'd already learned that skin color dictated worth. Her mother never spoke of her father. The only clue she kept was a small photograph pressed between the pages of a diary, a slim Japanese man, gentle smile, a hydrangea in his hand. Onines Lena thought her daughter was asleep. Naya would see her by the window, staring at that photo. It was that picture that made Naya curious, and it was the diary, written in a language she didn't know, that made her determined. She started with hiragana taped across her bedroom wall. Then came short passages painstakingly translated from a battered second-hand dictionary. Slowly, she understood the first diary pages where her mother's handwriting curved softly. First day in Kyoto, I didn't expect this place to quiet my heart so quickly. Nia went on to study linguistics, on a partial scholarship, majoring in Japanese and French. She dreamed of becoming an international interpreter. But dreams crumble quickly when your mother is diagnosed with chronic heart failure. Medical bills, prescriptions, rent, they all came first. Naya left school to work full-time. Magnolia Crest hired her, not for languages, but for janitorial work. No one asked what she'd studied. No one knew she spoke 3 languages. They only needed her to scrub the 5th-floor bathrooms, haul laundry, and answer yes, sir, to whatever the manager barked. Her direct supervisor, Brad Dawson, a white man in his 40s with a habit of smirking, always called her girl instead of her name. Where's Mop Girl? There's coffee spilled in the lobby. Make a guest complain again, and you can forget about overtime. Marissa's disdain had been in place long before the Takahashi incident. You leave my floors dirtier than others. Do them again. This wing has high-profile guests. Don't wander around. People aren't used to seeing dirt. Nia heard it all. Never answered back. None of it mattered as much as hearing her mother's breathing each morning. She worked for rent, for medicine, and occasionally for another dictionary to decode more diary pages. Once, during a longer hospital stay, Lena took her daughter's hand and spoke, for the first time, about the man in the photo. Your father was Japanese, she said, voice trembling. I met him as an exchange student in Kyoto. He was a good man. But when his family learned I was pregnant, they sent someone. No threats. No violence. Just a suitcase of money and a message. If you don't leave Japan, your child will never see the sun. Lena left that night. No goodbye. No note. She had written a long letter and hidden it with a small box, planning to return. She never did. I never wanted you to know. But if you ever meet him, forgive him, if you can. He wasn't the one at fault. Nia, said nothing, just nodded. But after that night, she looked at the photo differently. Not just the man in her mother's memory, but possibly the man who once had a chance to be her father. After the morning in the lobby, Takahashi no longer saw her as a cleaner. In every meeting, he asked for her presence, not just to translate, but to be there. Marissa bristled openly. "I don't see why she needs to be here," she murmured to him. "I do," Takahashi replied. And sometimes, as Naya read through notes in Japanese, she felt his gaze linger. Once or twice, she caught a flicker in his eyes, something unsettled, as though he had once known someone with eyes exactly like hers. Mia felt it too, but she told herself, just do the job. Don't think beyond that. From someone no one bothered to look at. Mia Wallace had become a fixed name in Shohei Takahashi's schedule in less than a month. He never praised her outright, but the way his eyes softened when her translations flowed without a stumble, the way he didn't have to ask for a break because she'd already built it into his meetings, those said what he rarely could in words: satisfaction. Mia stayed quiet, worked on time, ate lunch alone on the stone bench by the hotel's flower bed, spent an hour every night drilling vocabulary. She still caught him watching her, not with scrutiny, but with something older, unsettled. And every time their eyes met, he looked away. She told herself, just do the job. The paycheck is enough. Nothing else matters. But Marissa Hale, once Takahashi's only personal aide, felt her place slipping, day by day. "Why is she handling your calendar? Send Naya your medical file. She knows I'm allergic to seafood." One afternoon, Takahashi called Marissa in, handed her a folder. "Find US and Japan programs for students returning to university. Handle all the paperwork for Naya. She needs to go back to school. I'll cover the cost." Marissa frozen. Sponsorship? Sending the black janitor girl back to college? She'd lost interpreting, lost scheduling, lost being the one at his side in important meetings. And now she was about to lose the last thing she held, his unshakable trust. "Just a janitor who knows a few Japanese words," she seethed. "Over my dead body." A week later, a shipment arrived from Japan. Special ingredients for Takahashi's stay in the US. Fresh seafood, matcha, wagyu, sealed in a refrigerated truck. Every crate labeled in Japanese. Nia was assigned to check the manifests. Not as her main job, but because she could read the handwritten notes taped to the crates. That morning, clipboard in hand, she scanned the lot numbers. Marissa's voice cut in behind her. "Inventory too? You climb fast." Nia didn't look up, just tilted her head and kept reading. Marissa's lips curved. "You don't even know where you're standing, do you?" Nia stepped toward the last crate inside the truck. The shove came without warning, hard, sharp, sending her sprawling onto the icy floor. Bang! The metal door slammed shut. Click. Marissa pocketed the key. Turned away. "Enjoy the cold nap, clever little girl." The plan was simple. The truck would leave on schedule. Hours later, no one would know she'd been inside. The police would call it an accident. Marissa's hands would be clean. It would all be over. Fate disagreed. Eli, a new warehouse clerk, had seen Nia minutes earlier. When he came back from the far end of the dock, she was gone. "Nia drop off the manifests yet?" he asked the dispatch team. Heads shook. "Haven't seen her." "Wasn't she just at the freezer truck?" They exchanged glances. Eli's face drained. "I'm opening it." The door swung wide, cold vapor billowing out like winter fog. Naya lay curled in a corner, lips blue, hands rigid, the clipboard still by her side, breathing faint, skin ice cold. "Call 9. The downtown private hospital admitted her in deep hypothermia. 10 more minutes, and she wouldn't have survived. When Lena Wallace heard her daughter was in the ICU, she grabbed the first cab and rode 30 kilometers into the city. At the recovery room door, she stopped. Facing her was a man she'd never thought she'd see again. The man she had loved. The man she had been forced to leave. The man standing at her daughter's bedside. She froze, Her voice came out low, edged with steel. "What are you doing here?" He said nothing. Her fists tightened. "Come to check if the ambitious foreign girl is dead yet." His gaze flickered, shock first, then something gentler, like a knife falling from his grip. "Lena, is she really?" Her laugh broke, raw. "Years ago I was forced out of Japan. They laid money on the table, sent letters, told me I was nothing, told me if I stayed, I wouldn't live to see the next morning. They said you took the money, that you left me because you were poor." He stopped. The words hung. All those years, he'd believed his family, believed she'd traded him for cash. It wasn't until years later, clearing out his old student apartment, that he'd found a crumpled prenatal checkup slip. But he never knew if she'd kept the baby. Now, in a hospital hallway, it all broke open. "She's my daughter," he whispered. Lena didn't nod, didn't shake her head, but her eyes gave him the answer. 3 days after being moved to the ICU, Nia woke. The first thing she saw was the stark white hospital ceiling. For a moment, everything blurred, then sharpened. IV lines, the steady blip of a heart monitor, and her mother's warm hand wrapped around hers. "Sweetheart." Lena's voice trembled, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You're awake, thank God." Nia didn't cry. Her eyes went past her mother, to the man standing silently at the foot of her bed. He was watching her too. When she finally spoke, her voice was cracked, dry but clear. "It was her, Marissa. She's the one who pushed me into the freezer truck." Her mother's grip tightened. Takahashi didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone. "File charges," he told his legal aide. "I want the police to investigate Marissa, assault, attempted murder, and go through every document, every report she's ever handled for the company. All of it." His tone was low, deliberate, each word cutting away the rungs Marissa had climbed to hold onto her power. Within hours she was in handcuffs. Security footage, along with statements from Eli and the dock crew, sealed the case. As the police led her away, she only managed one sentence. "This can't be happening. She's just a janitor." But the janitor was no longer the same. Before the press and the board of directors, Shohei Takahashi stood tall. "I want to introduce my daughter, Nia Wallace Takahashi." The room froze. No evasion. No cover-up. He told the story in brief but whole, from a young love, torn apart by his family's interference, to discovering he had a daughter only when she nearly died inside a freezer truck. "Perhaps I've been a terrible father," he said, eyes lowered. "But today I choose not to remain a silent one." He signed the legal documents on the spot, naming her his lawful daughter, and adding her to the official list of heirs to Takahashi Corporation. No one objected. No one dared. They'd all seen she had earned it. Nia returned to university, not as a student scraping by with night shifts, but with a scholarship account under her name. More than that, she returned with a purpose: to study, to understand, to give voice to children who had none, children like she once was. She chose linguistics again, focusing on medical interpretation and Japanese-American cultural studies. In class, she was quiet, but it was the quiet of a page that had been crumpled, torn, then pressed flat by survival. Her mother, Lena, moved into a private care suite arranged by Takahashi. Sunlight streamed through the window. She no longer skipped medication for lack of money, no longer coughed into a handkerchief to keep her daughter from worrying. The best doctors watched over her. I'm not used to being cared for like this," Lena murmured when Takahashi visited. "Then, get used to it," he replied, his eyes carrying more than apology. They didn't say much more. Some wounds didn't need to be reopened, only walk past together. One quiet weekend afternoon, in the small wooden house Takahashi had rented near the university, the three of them sat beneath the eaves. Lena, Shohei, and Nia. On the table lay a worn leather note. Nia opened the first page, her mother's neat Japanese handwriting. "First day in Kyoto. I didn't know this place could calm my heart so quickly." Shohei was waiting at the station, holding a bouquet of purple hydrangeas. Lena laughed softly, like wind through leaves. Translate it for me, she said. Nya began reading aloud. Every sentence, every line, felt like it was being pulled from her chest because for the first time her mother's words weren't code. They were a story, a true one, a story of two people who loved, but were torn apart by prejudice, by cruelty, and by too many years of silence. Shohei didn't move. When Naya reached the line, if one day our daughter speaks Japanese, maybe she could say for me what I couldn't, that I'm sorry for leaving without a word. He tilted his head, hiding damp eyes behind his sleeve. I should have looked for you both long ago, he murmured. But today, thank you for stepping toward your father first. Nia didn't answer. She looked at her mother, then at him, and she cried. Not for pain, but because for the first time in 25 years, something she'd never truly had now existed. A family. Not perfect, just real. In the amber light of sunset, the three sat together. The journal lay open. Their shadows stretched across the page, and for the first time, they read together, understood together, and forgave together. Message. Sometimes what we search for isn't a grand truth, just an explanation that was never spoken. In a world where prejudice can tear love apart, where skin and origin are judged before a word is even uttered, there are still hearts that quietly hold to what's right, with patience, with faith. Nia never needed a title to do what was right. She only needed a chance to prove she deserved to be heard, and that was enough to bring her family back together. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it's the only way to keep the past from holding the future hostage.